Welcome to our discussion with the local House of Delegates candidates. We're joined today by Republican Jim Evans, who is a candidate in the 80th District. That's in the city of Portsmouth. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background. You come from the business world.
Yes, I've spent the last 22 years in finance, working with people from real estate to credit cards to sports vehicles, goodness gracious, note loans, collections, lending. Was a branch manager at one time, been a unit manager for a while as well, and just really enjoyed it. I found my niche after I graduated from Regent with my master's degree.
Now, as you go around the district, you talk to a lot of voters. What are they talking about? What are the issues that matter to them?
Okay, gosh, that's real easy because in speaking with the people, the first was education. And the issues that we have in the 80th District with getting our schools accredited. And so we're dealing with that and getting better schools. The one thing about Portsmouth, which I was really put out about, was the negative perception that people have of Portsmouth, because they hear about us with negative things. But if you go around to all the neighborhoods are really tight. The people know each other, they're working with each other, they're communicating with each other, and they care. And you can tell by the way they take care of their property. And we have some numerous beautiful neighborhoods in Portsmouth. So it's kind of weird where we're trying to change the perception. It's a good place to live. Yes, we're working on our school system, and that's where we need to build at.
Well, what's the answer there? Fully funded, and where does that money come from?
Oh, okay. Well, it comes from the city and it comes from the state as well. And what we have to do is focus the funds towards the classroom, and that's what I'm campaigning on, is bringing back the VOTEC classes, because we had them for a while and they were discontinued. And even when I talk to the people door to door, they go, "Why did we stop? We have the shipyards right next door." I said, yes, they can walk out the school door on their graduation, go through the gate and be employed as a welder or a plumber or carpenter or whatever's needed. And see, those are the things that we need to bring back. We need to have a wider array of CTE and VOTEC classes. We're doing really well with STEM, okay, and we're also doing well in robotics, but we need to expand that. So there are a lot of people that really don't want to go to college.
They don't need to.
Yeah, and they don't want the debt too.
Right.
Okay, and so by them being educated while they're in high school, they can do their interview. The employer can say, hey, we don't really have to put them into an apprenticeship to teach them how to do this job. We can move them right in, just guide them through what they need to get employed.
As you know, the General Assembly is once again going to face the issue of gun violence, particularly in the wake of the Virginia Beach mass shooting. The Crime Commission is looking at a package of bills. The governor will have a package. Individual members will have. Do you favor any gun laws, red flag laws, universal background checks?
Okay. You know, this is a really tough question for our district, okay, because we do have issues where we look at gun control and we're really quick to have a knee-jerk reaction and we've got to take away people's guns. That's just not the correct way to do it. What we have to do is really look at what the issue is going on, because as I studied through it, and people were always talking about the AR-15, well, a lot of people don't know that the AR-15 was banned for like 10 years, from 1994 to 2004. And when I was looking at the statistics, overwhelmingly, it is a 9mm handgun, and that's what was used in Virginia Beach as well. And the one thing we do is the background checks we do need. Gun registration, that's not going to solve the issue. And with the mass shootings that's taken place, there's been like 167 since 1966.
But there were indications in the majority of those cases that there was a troubled individual.
Yes.
What about the red flag law as an idea where a family member can voice concerns to the police, maybe go to a judge, get a ruling for the gun temporarily to be removed?
Okay. Now that's essential because we were found out with the Parkland shooting, after all the investigation was done, after all the hype, that there were government groups, the school group, that didn't address the issue appropriately. This individual had problems. They weren't addressed. The FBI knew about him. They didn't address it. And these are issues where we need to wake up in our enforcement of laws and say, hey, let's get this individual some help. And that's one of the things that is going to make Portsmouth better, is by us working closer with the classroom. You know, we have a lot of single-parent families, and a lot of those kids come from hard homes and hard situations, and we need to address the mental health issues right there when it starts, not wait down the road.
You're a finance guy. What would you do about economic development at Portsmouth? Portsmouth has a couple of unique challenges. There's the tolls.
Yes.
And then there's a lot of land that's not taxable because it's owned by the federal government. What would you do about economic development?
Okay, that's where we have to think outside the box, and that's one of the issues. The first is, if we get our schools back in order, okay, that's economic development for us, because people who own businesses will want to come into Portsmouth. They want to come into the 80th District. Because the things that they're looking at in Virginia, and it really amazed me, Virginia came up as one of the top places to live and be employed, okay? And I said, gee, we're doing a great job. Let me go in and see what we're doing so right. I went in and I found out that we were rated number 34 out of 50 because of our tax code and because of our infrastructure and of our school systems. And because when employers want to come in, they want to make sure that people have an easy way to get to and from work. They want to make sure you have access to rail, which we have. We have 2 seaports. We have the Marine, Portsmouth Marine Terminal. We have VIG, which is doing really well. And the answer for us about the lack of taxable property is to use what we have available. And that means we've got to figure out a way where we can start building a type of assembly manufacturing, like assembling cell phones. Do it right here in the 80th District. We have the 2 ports. The raw materials can come directly into us. It's a short drive with the truck. You're not trying to get them out to Richmond or Charlottesville or Charlotte, North Carolina. What we can do is we really have to rethink it. And the way that we're going to rebuild our waterfront is essential. And we've got to get the people of Portsmouth involved in it, because they have felt there has not been transparency with their government. They feel like all of a sudden something pops up, and what are you talking about? We've never heard of this. Like the tolls, they really feel betrayed by the tolls.
A couple of quick health issues. The opioid crisis. What do you think should be done about that?
You've really got to have the doctors start controlling it. And the way that we're moving into it for the opioid crisis is that when we decide how we're going to relieve pain, are there other substitutes that we can use? And we've really got to focus on that. The criminalization and legalization of marijuana, medical use for marijuana, those are issues that we have to look at.
What about the idea of what's going on with vaping right now? We're increasingly hearing of deaths, including one Virginian who died. Do you think something should be done at the state level to more heavily regulate that? I mean, some of the big chains have stopped selling it, but there are vape shops everywhere.
Yes, in Portsmouth, they're all over the place. Yeah, we do have to do something about it, because it's going to end up being a controlled substance like tobacco, because we're finding out that it's having a lot more effect, but we need more scientific data as what is causing it. Okay, are these people adding things to what they're doing?
Like THC.
Yeah, and so here we are, we're looking at it, and we've got to get better answers and definitive answers and find out the why. Then we can mark out the decision and the path we're going to take.
How do you think things would be different if Democrats regained control of the House?
Oh, you're definitely going to lose. You're going to have a lot of gun control. You're going to see confiscations of weapons through people saying, I think they're crazy, and that you need to do something about that. And really, we need to really base how we do gun control on the basic right of, hey, they're saying you're guilty of this, well, let's find the evidence first before anything's done. Because you can't take away someone's Second Amendment rights. Here's the other issue, too. When Governor Northam was talking about the red flag laws, like confiscating guns, there was an individual that stood up and said, you know why I have a gun? And why? He said, because the criminals in my community, if I didn't have one, they'd be on top of me and my children immediately. And that's one of the reasons why I support it is until we can get our communities under control, where we're not having, like, for instance, Portsmouth, we've had, by the end of August, we've had 404 residential burglaries, okay? Now, if the guy comes in and he's carrying a gun, what defense do you have? You don't have any. You're a 5'8" woman, and there's a 270-pound, 6'7" guy standing in front of you. What are you going to do? How are you going to equalize the situation? And with the research that I've done, I found out that many times just showing that you have a weapon, not even pulling it, makes the perpetrator retreat, because he's not looking for a hard target, he's looking for a soft target.
Right. All right. One final question. You have two opponents.
Yes.
Quick closing argument. Why you instead of them?
Why me instead of them? Number one, I support gun rights. I'm endorsed by the VCDL, Virginia Citizens Defense League. Okay. I'm also strongly pro-life. My wife and I have been a part of the pro-life movement, gosh, since the 70s. And I believe that life begins at conception, and I look at it that way. And I can understand the problems because we've worked with people, and I've counseled people with my degree from Regent. It's a Master's of Divinity. So people have come to share with me things that have happened to them. And I have friends that are a product of rape. And I'm thinking, gosh, I would not have had this rich friendship if it weren't for the woman that stood up and said, no, I'm going to see this through. Those women have to have the opportunity to make that choice. And there are so many nonprofit and church-related groups that will be willing to help and support financially and physically with the needs that are there. And I think we need to be known as a nation that has a place for people, not a place where we don't have a place for you.
Jim Evans, the Republican candidate in the 80th District in Portsmouth. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
My pleasure.